Okay, so Don, this is your first time on the show. You are a former Navy JAG officer. You served at the Pentagon.
That's right.
You were also a former special U.S. assistant attorney. And so I wanted to talk with you. You had sort of a perfect pedigree to talk about this fascinating video that is from the Seditious Six, as they have been called by Pete Hegseth.
Right.
And in this video, we don't need to play the whole thing or any of it other than to effectuate that what they are doing is declaring that members of the military and intel services stop following orders from the commander-in-chief and from the Pentagon. And we've read American law and we've read some of the military law live on air. It doesn't seem legal. It doesn't seem something that is smart to do. And it seems very insurrection-y to us, but we're not the experts. Don, you are. So what's your take on this?
Well, first off, let's be clear. The Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, has the constitutional authority to protect American lives and property on the high seas. It goes all the way back to Thomas Jefferson with the Barbary Wars, when he sent the Navy and the Marine Corps into the Mediterranean when the Barbary pirates were attacking American shipping. Abraham Lincoln seized the RMS Trent, a British mail ship, because it had a Confederate sympathizer. And Franklin Roosevelt issued shoot-on-kill orders to the Navy in the Atlantic before Pearl Harbor when we were protecting convoys against German U-boats. Of course, Reagan sent troops into Grenada, George H.W. Bush into Panama, and even Bill Clinton issued a naval blockade of Haiti. So it is constitutionally proper for the President of the United States, under his authority as Commander-in-Chief, to protect Americans on the high seas. Now, listen, these dingbat Democrats know about as much of the Constitution or the UCMJ as I know about speaking Mandarin or Chinese. They know nothing. The issue with Mark Kelly, he's a Navy captain, and the UCMJ, which is the criminal code for the military, adopted and signed in 1950 by President Eisenhower, passed by the Congress, allows Mark Kelly and anyone else who is a retiree to be brought back up, investigated and prosecuted for violations of the UCMJ, and there are about 5 or 6 here. So I'm glad to see my friend Pete Hegseth take action here. I hope that we're going to see more substantive action. It is the height of their responsibility. Look, they're putting American lives in danger by encouraging sailors and Marines and airmen not to follow orders. It's the most despicable thing I've seen, and many despicable things the Democrats have done for political gain.
So since you were a JAG lawyer, I mean, we've all seen A Few Good Men, right? Like I'm sure you were Tom Cruise.
Well, yeah, you can see the resemblance, right, Benny? I mean,
that's right.
Get mixed up all the time with Tommy,
That's right. I can see, I can see it, man.
Thanks for reminding everybody about that.
You're gonna be in the next Mission Impossible, bro.
But go ahead.
There's got to be could you break it down like you would for a very trusted and very loyal Labrador, somebody who doesn't know the military code, probably frontwards and backwards like you?
Right.
What military code laws were broken? What would charges look like against Mark Kelly, for instance, senator from Arizona, in this case? Like, how would you prosecute this case?
Okay, first off, because Mark Kelly is a retiree and as Navy captain is entitled to pay, not every veteran can be called back for prosecution, but retirees can. So Article 2 of the UCMJ allows us to call him back to investigate him for violating the UCMJ. There are about 6 different articles. The one that comes to mind first is Article 94, which prevents mutiny and sedition. Sedition basically is when a member of the armed forces or a retiree encourages the disobedience of civilian authority. And of course, Article 2 of our Constitution makes the president the commander-in-chief. You can't do that. It's just not just Article 94, but Article 88 prevents what we call disrespect or contempt against the commander-in-chief. So, as a member of the public, you can say whatever you want to say, but within the context of the military, you can't speak disrespectfully against any commander-in-chief. So he's looking at Article 88, Article 94. There's the general Article 134. He's undermining good order and discipline. I don't want to go too deep into the weeds, but those 3 in and of themselves are grounds for investigation, in my judgment, calling him back and subjecting him to what we call a general court-martial.
So then what would happen in the court-martial? This is fascinating, by the way. I'm very interested in this. Could you explain what Mark Kelly would be facing. Like, let's say that you were defending him and he was sitting in a room with you. You just explained 3 or 4 different rules in the UCMJ that he broke. What penalties could he be facing?
Well, the president has said, I mean, theoretically, for sedition, you could go all the way to the death penalty. That wouldn't happen here, but it is possible. He could also be prosecuted for treason. I didn't even go there. That is giving aid and comfort to the enemy of the United States, and these drug cartels are that. But he's going to try to raise First Amendment types of defenses. But the UCMJ was passed by Congress, and a number of these articles have been held to survive from constitutional standpoints. What will happen is, if in fact he's recalled, there will be an investigation. What we call an Article 32 investigation in the military. That's kind of like a probable cause investigation, where a commander will appoint an investigating officer to look at what he said and what the others have said and determine whether or not there's probable cause that he has violated one of the articles. And I think that's a pretty easy go. And then if the decision is made to prosecute him, there will be a general court-martial convening authority. Could be the president, or it could be a regional commander such as CENTCOM, and a number of them that could convene the court. And then a jury would be selected and a trial would take place to determine whether there's been a violation. But he could be called back up, forced back in uniform, and face charges on this. And I think, we need to at least get this process into motion. You just can't have members of the Congress trying to undermine a valid, order from the president. Listen, the whole idea of unlawful orders. I mean, look, Obama, for example, used drones to kill American citizens in the Middle East. Now, some of those American citizens might be shady, but they have constitutional rights. Out on the high seas, these terrorists who are bringing fentanyl, which is a weapon of mass destruction, into the nation, have zero constitutional rights. And it isn't like the president's ordered some action against American citizens like Obama did when the Democrats sat back and said nothing. So the whole notion that there's been something illegally ordered is ridiculous. And when you press these Democrats, they can't even point to anything.
You flip this around. So Mark Kelly is occupying what you would call the John McCain seat, right, from Arizona. When Barack Obama was yeeting American citizen teenagers in Yemen with drones without a trial, which is, of course, prima facie illegal and unconstitutional. Sorry, sir. Even then, if John McCain had the bloody cheek and temerity to come out and say, stop following orders of the commander in chief, I would totally disavow that.
Right.
Like, I would view that as like something that is indefensible, frankly. Argue that it's unconstitutional, bring an impeachment charge if you would like, if you feel that strongly about it. But to make a video that says all of you people serving in the military, stop following orders of the commander in chief, I would never be down for that, like under any circumstance, right? Like that's the destruction of the country. That's the destruction of that's the end of that's the end of military order. And a lot of these guys are on nuclear submarines. Yeah. And a lot of these guys have nuclear weapons or F-22 Raptors, very dangerous weapons, could kick off World War II. We have bases in every country around the world and guns pointed in every country around the world. And if you start like decaying order, then you'll kick off a world war real fast and get a bunch of people killed. Like if you start sending these messages to the American troops, I mean, it's insanely dangerous and indefensible.
Yeah, it's an unconstitutional attack on the chain of command. See, the chain of command is constitutionally authorized at Article 2 with the president's commander-in-chief. And when you start undermining this chain of command, then you put American lives and other lives in danger. And it's a reckless assault against good order and discipline. What are you going to try to do? You're going to try to find, we have Democrats that serve in the military. We have Republicans. Yeah. You're going to try to isolate the Democrats against Republicans on a nuclear submarine, on a Trident-class submarine, or on USS Abraham Lincoln, or whatever the ship might be. That is what they're appearing to try to do. And it's the most irresponsible thing I've ever seen a member. Well, I won't say the most irresponsible. It's among the most irresponsible acts I've ever seen members of the United States Senate engage in.
Well, I know that you were running for the Senate. And I didn't want to give you an opportunity to talk to me about your race, since this is our first time meeting, here on this beautiful live stream digital format. So the floor is yours, Don, before we
thank
jump
you very
off
much.
here.
Yes, I entered the race back in late February, early March, in large part because the current sitting Senator Tom Tillis was undermining a number of the president's appointees. And of course, I worked very closely with the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, on some military issues. We worked very hard to try and secure a presidential pardon for Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, who had been in Leavenworth, charged under Obama's rules of engagement and convicted for quote unquote murder because his folks had been in the firefight in Afghanistan. So I worked closely with Pete, believed that he's one of President Trump's best picks ever. He's going to be the best Secretary of Defense, now Secretary of War ever. And Tillis had promised to, if any nominees for the cabinet had come through the confirmation process, that he would support that nominee. Pete came through the Senate Armed Services Committee, and Tillis then still tried to tank the nomination. So that's what kind of kicked me off into the race. We've been in the race ever since then. We're running on an America First agenda, I believe, and I would love to see these DOGE cuts eventually codified. I think the president has done a brilliant job. It's been the most brilliant execution of any administration in history in the first 300 days. But our Republican Congress has got to step to the plate. We still have a Department of Education that's got to go. The IRS has got to go. I'm running on what I call, Benny, a deep state reduction act. One of the recommendations that DOGE made is 300 to 400 agencies have got to go. We have got to take a meat cleaver to the deep state for two reasons. Number one, because it's busting our national, our national debt is going out of control because of this deep state. If you cannot constitutionally defend an agency, 3-letter, 4-letter, 5-letter, it's got to go. The Department of Education, of course, is under the crosshairs. It's got to go. FEMA was an absolute disaster here in Western North Carolina. We still have people that are displaced. That's got to go. The Internal Revenue Service has got to go. So I'm going to bring a meat cleaver approach to the United States Senate. And we have to understand President Trump has been certainly the greatest president in our lifetime. We have a thing called the 22nd Amendment in the Constitution, which means that at high noon on January 20th, 2029, we'll have another commander-in-chief. We love J.D. Vance. President Trump is Mount Rushmore quality for so many of the things that he's represented. But whoever that president is not going to be President Trump. And the Republican Congress has got to step up. And Congress has to fulfill its constitutional role. Listen, we have this deep state because Congress historically has abandoned its constitutional role. You go back to Woodrow Wilson, then you go back with the world must be made safe to democracy. We're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic. You look at Franklin Roosevelt and the New Deal, this administrative state exploded. Then you go to Lyndon Johnson with the Great Society, it exploded even more. And then Obamacare. 4 major moves of Democrat Congresses to put us in this position. We've got to take out the deep state. That's what I'll be committed to, and that's what I'm running on. And I'm going to have the president's back. And we're going to bring the torch of MAGA into the future, even after January of 2029. It's going to be up to the United States Congress, our Republicans in Congress, and that's what's driving me to run.
I can see it clearly. Don Brown for the military tribunals for the deep state. Now I can see the vision here. I'm
on board with Pete Hegseth. In Kelly's case, he should be ashamed of himself.
Yes.
He of all people, and it needs to take place as far as I'm concerned.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can follow Don right here on X. He's got 20,000 followers, and he is running again for Senate in the great state of North Carolina. And boy, he's made quite a convincing case. I've been watching the chat here. Boy, this guy seems like a good old loyal American. This is what one of our commenters said on Rumble. And I'll tell you what, Don, you're welcome back anytime. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Benny. Come down to North Carolina. We'll give you a tour. We'd love to have you. You're a celebrity down here. So thanks for having me today. And happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
As long as there's barbecue involved, brother, I'll be there.
You got it.
All right. All right. Godspeed. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, brother.